First off on the starts and sits, we are going quarterbacks. We got first one is Matthew Stafford going up against the Detroit Lions. The Rams are favored by 15 points, which is that's a college spread, by the way. So that is crazy. Just light it up. I think, how many you think the Rams are just going to put up a fuck ton of points?
I mean, yeah, they're at home and the Lions offense just looks terrible. They look like one of the worst offenses in the NFL. And obviously it doesn't help when you lose your center, Frank Ragnar, I believe his name is, and then you get Taylor Decker, who's the starting left tackle, I believe, as well. He's out too. So, and then now you have to face a guy named Aaron Donald, who's like the back-to-back defensive player of the year. Yeah, pray for Jared Goff because, hopefully he was nice to Aaron Donald when they were teammates back for the Rams, because if Aaron Donald's got a vengeance or a vendetta out to get to him, he may murder Jared Goff in this game. But yeah, I love Matt Stafford here, and this might be an easy one for most people, but I was seeing that he was not being started in 30% of leagues, and I think he needs to be started in 100% of leagues. Only bad thing is that maybe they do get up early and they in the second half and they kind of just lean on the run game, but I'm thinking that they just poured on. I'm thinking Sean McVay he's just like, whatever. If you're going to let me keep scoring, I'm going to keep scoring, kind of like Bill Belichick style here. And then, the Lions, they allow league-high 9.8 yards per completion. So this is money for guys like Cooper Kupp, who's, you're definitely starting him. And then, if you have Robert Woods and you're kind of on the fringe of starting him, I think this is a good money matchup to throw Robert Woods into your lineup as well. So, yeah, give me all the Matty Stafford this week.
Yeah, you can't go wrong Matthew Stafford against the Lions. I like it. Maybe a rushing touchdown?
Nah, maybe 4 touchdowns.
No,
4 passing touchdowns.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Sup, Kane? Here's the thing. If you download the Underdog Fantasy app right now and use promo code AVG, you get a free $10 added onto your deposit right now. Use promo code AVG. Links down below. Now back to your video. Let's go on to the next quarterback start. I got my boy Jameis Winston. This is kind of like a higher upside play. I was talking to actually some people personally. They were asking me for some advice and who to pick up. And if this person in particular went up against Dearness Johnson in on the Thursday night game, so they're down by a decent amount of points already going into the week. So they got people on bye week, so they're in a pinch where they need to start a higher upside person. And I don't think there's anyone better with higher upside than Jameis Winston going up against the Seattle Seahawks defense. I think it's a perfect matchup. You got him on Monday night, so you could get that Monday night miracle for yourself. I think, Jameis Winston is the kind of person who he can throw 500 yards in a game.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, I mean, he has that ability. He has very much the ability to do the opposite and throw interceptions. How
many picks does he throw?
It doesn't matter, though, because if he throws enough touchdowns. Exactly. 5? Exactly. But it doesn't matter. If you throw 500 yards, it's going to balance itself out. So I'm expecting let me guess, prediction, let me say a 26-point game fantasy point game from quarterback Jameis Winston against the Seahawks. Seahawks pass defense, by the way, is really, really bad. They're 4th yards against passing yards against their defense. So in that case, I like it. I love this matchup.
I mean, yeah, you got a lot of quarterbacks on bye this week. You got Justin Herbert. You got Dak, you got Josh Allen,
Kirk
Cousins. So yeah, you might be, searching the waiver wire, just saying hey, I just need someone who I can spot start for the week until my actual starting quarterback comes back off the bye. And I mean, Jameis Winston's out there in a ton of leagues. So
yeah, I love it. But let's go on to the next quarterback here. We got Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill. I don't know what he ended up with on. It was mostly Derrick Henry actually on Monday night, but Ryan Tannehill for the Tennessee Titans taking on the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Chiefs defense has not been that great. Tell them, Tyler.
Yeah, the Chiefs prior to last week, they had allowed 5 straight games of 29 or more points, just in general to the teams. Obviously, Tyler Heineke did not have a good game. The Washington football team did not have a good game, so they break that streak. But yeah, 5 out of the 6 games, the Chiefs have allowed 29 or more points. And I mean, does Derrick Henry have 4 rushing touchdowns in this? Maybe. It's a possibility. That guy's, like we said, that guy's either an alien or he's a superhuman athlete from the future that has come back in time to just destroy regular human beings who are not super athletes like him, because that guy is just something that's crazy. But, I mean, the Titans are going to be at home. This should be a shootout because the Titans' defense isn't very good either, so I'm expecting Mahomes to come out and put up some points. Julio Jones is questionable, but he's quote-unquote, he said he feels great and he's excited for Sunday. So if the receiver's coming out saying that from the reporters, I would assume that would mean he was going to play. The thing with Tannehill is that he's been super efficient and one of the best quarterbacks in terms of the play action passes, his passer rating, his passer efficiency, completion percentage, all that stuff. But he hasn't had a game where he's had A.J. Brown and Julio Jones 100% on the field. It's like they're either battling injuries or one gets hurt halfway through the game and they have to leave, or he's without both the receivers for a game. So it's kind of hard to gauge Tannehill so far throughout the year on what he's been able to accomplish. Obviously kind of some disappointing games here. I mean, he's only been over 20 points one time this entire season. Most of the games he's only had 1 or less passing touchdowns, so that's not very good. But also that's because Derrick Henry's getting you like 2-3 rushing touchdowns every single game. But he does offer the safe floor with the rushing yards on the ground. He's got 2 rushing touchdowns on the season. So I think in this game they're gonna have to keep pace with the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. And like I said, the Chiefs defense not very good, giving it up like Blair. So, yeah, give me some Ryan Tannehill here, especially if Julio Jones can play, and it sounds like he is. Yeah. And then A.J. Brown should be good to go as well.
Yeah, giving it up like Blair in the air.
In the air. Nice.
Let's go on to our Week 7 sits for quarterback. We have our first one here is Sammy Darnold. What you hating on my boy, dude? What's going on?
Yeah. So, I mean, Sam Darnold was off to a hot start like Hansel. He had 4 straight games of 280 or more passing yards, but the last 2 games have been, as I have here in my notes, quote-unquote, shit games. He's been held to under 210 yards, and he's had 6 interceptions in his last 3 games. That was kind of a knock for me when he was coming out of USC, as a guy who was just really turnover-prone, and I just didn't see how he was going to translate or get better, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, in the NFL when things are faster and the athletes are better than college. It's like you throw like 20 interceptions or whatever it was at USC. How's he supposed to go to the NFL where things are better now and just not throw a bunch of interceptions? But, yeah, been turning the ball over like crazy. This one right here, it's like I need to see it again before I am throwing Sam Darnold into my starting lineup. I guess if you're in a 2-quarterback league and you need a second quarterback, I'm not mad at it because the Giants are giving up a 74% completion percentage. But then on the flip side, Sam Darnold has been one of the most inaccurate quarterbacks throughout the season. It's crazy. I was looking at some stats in terms of like uncatchable targets to receivers, or there's a stat, don't quote me on this, but it's basically like air yards that are uncatchable. So basically like when you throw a deep pass, but it's just like uncatchable, and they calculate those air yards to see, how many how many yards that would have been if he would have completed it. And DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson are top 5 in these uncatchable air yards.
Wow.
So he's just being highly inefficient with his throws. And I don't know, maybe he was doing so well in the beginning of the year because he had Christian McCaffrey, and it was easy for him to just dump it off and have CMC do all the work. I mean, we were seeing Christian McCaffrey get 8, 9, 10 catches for 80, 90 yards. So that's just easy completions right there. Short, quick passes. So maybe he's struggling now with no CMC on the field. So yeah, I'd be a little hesitant to throw Sam Darnold into my lineup, especially in a road game against the Giants.
Yeah, and then he might have been, he had those rushing touchdowns at the beginning of the year as well, so those could have been saving you with Sam Darnold as well. Like that could have been the reason as well.
For sure.
So yeah, I'm with you on that. Prove it to me, Sammy. Next Week 7 sit for a quarterback, we got Joey Burrow taking on the Baltimore Ravens in this matchup. The Ravens are favored by 8.5 points now. It moved from 6.5 to 8.5
That's
on a
crazy.
Division game. And a division, I don't care. I don't care who.
And
it
the
is.
Bengals, for as much as you want, you can trash the Bengals and talk shit. The Bengals have been playing some good football.
Yeah.
I mean, like I know you're a Steelers fan, Mike, but I mean to go into Pittsburgh, a division game, and win that's
hard.
That's pretty hard, and they nearly beat the Packers. I know what's his name, Mason Crosby or the Packers kicker, whatever his name is. Missed a couple kicks, but they nearly beat the Packers as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're playing some good football on both sides of the ball, offense and defense.
Yeah. But you don't like Joe Burrow this week.
Yeah, this would be another one where it's like I'm just if you have to start Burrow, I'm tempering expectations, and he's not my favorite start, I guess you could say. Like I said, there's a lot of quarterbacks that are on bye, so depends who's out there or who you got that you might have to throw Burrow into your lineup. If you're in a 2-quarterback league, you definitely might have to throw Burrow into your lineup. And obviously it helps when you have guys like Jamar Chase, who is just balling right now, probably going to be Offensive Rookie of the Year. You got Higgins, who returned T. Higgins. And then you got Tyler Boyd as well. And then even Mixon out of the backfield, who can take a couple catches. And we even saw Chris Evans last week take a little catch. I think it was like 25-yard touchdown. So, he's got weapons to throw the ball to. But, for what it's worth, I just personally believe playing in Baltimore is one of the toughest places to play. It's just, I don't know what it is, but for just years and years and years, Baltimore's just been one of these like tough-nosed, like nitty-gritty, hard places to play. And Harbaugh's a good coach, good defensive coach there. Like I said, it is a division game, and they shut down Justin Herbert last week. And you got Keenan Allen, you got Mike Williams, who's having this breakout year. They blanketed all those guys and shut Justin Herbert out. I mean, they held Herbert to under 200 passing yards. It was his worst game of the season. But yeah, it's just, I'm not in love with this. I just don't see too much upside. I mean, Burrow has had 2 or more touchdowns in every single game, so he could give you a safe floor potentially. But I just don't see like a ceiling here. I'm not expecting him to, have like a boom game. So if you're looking for some upside, I'd potentially be fading Joe Burrow here. And it's just crazy because like one of the games we said to sit him before was against the Chicago Bears, and that was like his worst game of the season. So
yeah,
maybe just on the road, a little bit different compared to playing home game, because the home road splits are a real thing.
Yeah,
whether people can understand or acknowledge that.
And sometimes it goes the other way.
Yeah.
Big Ben.
Definitely.
Yeah, so I like it. Joe Burrow. What a bust.
Burrow's been playing good though.
No,
for the most
good.
part, he
He's
looks good off the knee surgery, and
he looks good like his college years.
Yeah. And the connection with Jamar Chase is just
he's not a bust.
Crazy.
He's not a bust. I just want
what they need to do though is draft some linemen for that guy.
Yeah,
you got to protect him because it's like now you have weapons, but yeah, you got to be able to protect your investment.
Yeah, let's be real.
Let's get the guy some linemen.
Let's get him some big guys for the line.
Yeah.
Do some blocking. Hey, did you like that video? No, not the one of Big Ben completely eating shit when nobody even touched him. I'm talking about our fantasy football video we just did. You just watched. Well, guess what? That was just a clip from the full audio podcast. So if you want to check out the whole thing, links down below. AVG Fantasy Football Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, all of them. Anywhere you can get audio podcasts, we're there. Go ahead and check it out. And if you don't want to look at your fantasy team to look the way Big Ben does right here, wait for it. Come on, replay. This is your fantasy team. But that won't be your fantasy team if you subscribe to AVG Fantasy Football. So go ahead, subscribe and like this video. Subscribe to the channel and like.